But yeah, so you have any more questions, or we can get back into it?
Saying that, his life is so well documented because of the impact he had on his people. We know things like how he used to eat and even the position he used to sleep.
So we know this, we trace this all the way back to him. We know everything about him, how he slept, how he ate, how he prayed, when he prayed, where he, everything. Everything we know about him.
It wouldn't be far from accurate to say that we know more about him than any other historical figure. All of this
Hold on for a second. But that would make sense because it's only 1400 years ago.
So Jesus
Right?
was only 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, that's 600 years more. What's happened in the last 100 years on Earth?
Hold on. He said the most historical figure ever. What about like Napoleon? Like not even 100 years ago.
No, but there's,
we don't know anything about these people.
Well, Napoleon, because nobody's going to go into the depth of Napoleon like they are into a prophet, right? Napoleon, they know what they need to know about Napoleon. They don't really care how he slept.
Sure, yeah.
Unless it made a difference to who he was as a army leader.
Right.
So I think again, look what's happened over the last 100 years. 100 years ago, people were just starting to drive cars around. You know what I mean? Like and move around. There was no electronics. Everything was mechanical, and it was a whole different world, and that was only 100 years ago.
But
how much things have changed in the last 30 years? Never mind 100.
Yeah, but my point is, think about even people today. We don't know anything about, like, for example, who are big people? Elon Musk. We don't know how he eats, sleeps, whatever. But how come all the other prophets...
That's not important to know.
Hold on, I know. But how come all the other prophets were essentially recorded? How come Jesus wasn't recorded? How he slept, ate, whatever, this, that, whatever. But how come only...
There was
Prophet
600
Muhammad,
years, as far as Jesus is. That was 600 years before.
But how come we don't even have, like, not even 1/100th of that?
I mean, the first book was the Bible, right?
Torah came before the Bible.
Okay, so these things I don't know. I know that these were the first books, right? And then what the Egyptians would write on the walls
Hieroglyphics.
They
actually proved that too in the Quran too.
Was the first writings that ever existed. How much detail are they going to put into these writings about the pharaohs of the time?
Actually, funny enough, you mentioning that, they found out, so in the Bible, it says that they were, I don't remember which one it is, I don't want to screw it up. In the Bible, it says that they were pharaohs at that time, like Egyptian pharaohs, this, that. In the Quran, they said it was kings. And they translated the Rosetta Stone, which are like the hieroglyphs, they translated it. And they did find out at that time they were actually kings. They weren't pharaohs at that time. So it mentions that in the Quran as well, funny enough. But yeah, there's like things here and there that it's like, okay, how much things can happen until like a coincidence is not a coincidence anymore. You know what I mean? Like if you went to somebody and this person told you whatever would happen in your life, the exact time it happened for the next year, would you start to believe this person, or would you be like, I don't believe this guy? Like, no, that's just by chance. Like you guessed every single day what would happen to me for the whole year. That's just by chance, dude. You can't do the next year. You know what I mean? You kind of start to analyze it and be like, maybe this guy's onto something that I don't know about, or he sees something I don't see. Anyways.
Again, I don't have enough knowledge to be discussing this stuff.
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
So
we'll just get back into it.
Literally invites us to study his life and make a rational decision to see if he was actually a prophet or not. There are three possibilities for this claim. Either he was lying, or he was mad, or he was telling the truth. Let's break this down. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, received the first revelation from God at the age of 40. This means he lived a completely normal life for 40 years before becoming a prophet. In these 40 years, he built a reputation in his community, and they literally nicknamed him the truthful and the trustworthy. He was known to have never told a single lie. Think about it. 40 years of sincerity, and then to suddenly come up with a monumental lie like being a prophet doesn't make any logical sense. Later in his life, as people started joining Islam, the leaders were getting more frustrated. They offered him anything he wanted just so that he stopped preaching. If there was any time to show that he was lying, this was it. Remember, a liar always lies for a reason, but he rejected. Doesn't this show sincerity? The prophet was also known to have so much wisdom, and his character was impeccable. People used to race to serve him in any way they could. Muslims and non-Muslims turned to him for advice, and he never said no to any request. These are not qualities of someone that is mad. Perhaps the biggest proof for me is that the prophet could not read or write, had no educational background, yet was able to bring forth the Quran that remains the best literature the world has seen even after 1400 years. Logically, this is enough to verify his prophethood. The Quran has literally shaken the world.
That's like a photocopy again of everything that Jesus Christ did. Except the difference was Jesus started as a baby.
Yes, at that time, what Jesus preached was correct. Yes, 100%. He was a prophet of God. Whatever God gave him, he preached. Yes, that is correct. However, over time, that it was manipulated and it was changed. That's why we
What
believe
was manipulated and changed?
the Bible itself was manipulated and changed, the gospel. That's why Christians, for example,
How is it that it could be more accurate 600 years later, lad?
because God sends revelations. God can do anything. He sent over 125,000 prophets throughout of all human history. He sent Moses to the Israelites, right? And they essentially he gave the message, but corrupted the message. We got Judaism. Then Jesus came with the message. Then we got Christianity. Then the prophet, God said he'd be the last prophet ever. And we have Islam, and no prophet will ever come after him in any sense. We just believe that the Bible was essentially corrupted. For example, the Christians, if I'm not mistaken, believe in 73 books. The Catholics believe in 78. So why are some books taken out and some books not? Like, what makes sense?
I can't speak to that because I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, no, every sect of like Christianity, they believe in a different amount of books. Some believe he's the son of God. Christians believe Jesus actually is God. Like, the human Jesus is God, which is like kind of blasphemy in a sense, because how can a human create everything? And then you have the concept of the Trinity.
No, I've never heard him being. He is the Son of God. That's what it's always been. The Son of God.
So then we have the concept of the Trinity, the Holy Spirit, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, right? And Christians are like, oh, they're all equal. How are they all equal? In what sense are they all equal? When does God ever pray to Jesus? Because Jesus prayed to God. When does Jesus ever pray to the Holy Spirit and God? There's a lot of things.
I can't explain any of that stuff, but I can, I can say the same thing of everything he's saying as well. You're saying, well, this is exactly the truth. Well, no, you haven't proven anything. Just because you said that doesn't mean it's true.
But
right? Like, no, I mean, just in the things that he was saying, which is exactly, like, that's exactly what happened with Jesus. Everything he said, okay?
Right.
So, there was no difference there. If I changed the name to Jesus, it would have been the same thing. I would have heard the same thing.
No, but
with very minor differences. But the crux of the whole thing is exactly the same.
It's similar.
So it's exactly the same. There's nothing he said that's different. But there's no evidence or proof. Just because they're saying, oh, this is proven. Well, okay, what do you mean it's proven? How is it proven?
I'll give you an example. In the Quran, there are no contradictions. 1,400 years, no contradiction has ever been found. In the Bible, there's so many contradictions.
Yeah, again, I can't speak to them. I don't know this stuff. I think, again, it's just a way of how things are interpreted. It's no different than the lawyers in a courtroom arguing a case of something, right? And in the end, they're both right probably, and they both have some wrongs, and they're both making their cases, and it's literally maybe doesn't need to be that difficult or that complicated. Right.
But if you're
be the best person you could be.
If you're getting something from God, wouldn't you believe it to be perfect? Doesn't God know you better than yourself? He knows all your intentions. He knows what you think about, what you do, and everything. He knows everything about what will happen, when it will happen, everything.
So then why would he make some people's lives way more miserable, like he was saying earlier, where the guy is a drug dealer and lives we consider on earth to be a wonderful life of abundance and no worries, no stress for a person like that, where you have a little 9-year-old boy that can't find food to eat and winds up dying of starvation.
Right.
How do you compare those two? If they're really if there really was a God that looked at us that way, why did he choose that child to live that life? And why did he choose that other guy who doesn't deserve it? Doesn't deserve it because he was a drug dealer, right? So that's why we say he doesn't deserve it. But we're assuming he doesn't deserve it in comparison to a child who probably did nothing wrong. Why did he have a life of privilege?
So this gets into like some really deep topics. It's called qadr, which essentially is predestination. So God knows everything when it's going to happen before it happens. Everything. He'll know every single path that you will take throughout everybody's life, whatever. If I move my hand this way versus if I did this or whatever. He knows everything, right? However, this life is a test. This life is a test. Our real life is in the afterlife. That's where like our real life will be. So this life is a test. How good were you in this life that you can essentially get into the afterlife and like get into either paradise or hell, right? It gets into another topic, like I said, called qadr, which is predestination. So it gets really complicated. And I don't know 100% because it gets so in detail and complicated, and when they explain it, that it's really hard for me to explain it in like layman terms and in regular terms. And I don't want to butcher it because how do I explain this? It's like God, if you say God is a teacher, he can't force the students to study for the test, okay? The students will do whatever they want to do, but some students will pass the test and it's all through their free will. Whatever you do is through your own free will, right? So everything you're doing throughout your life is because you choose to do it. God doesn't control any of that. However, he knows what will happen no matter what path you take in your life. He knows essentially everything. But it gets in a really deep
That's
topic.
kind of depressing, to be honest with you.
What?
That if he knows everything and knows the path that people are taking or that are, the road they're going down, then I find it pretty sad that he would put some of my loved ones in a position where they have to struggle.
No. I think you're getting it confused.
I must be.
So God doesn't control anything. We control our own lives. You can be a million. You can literally go rob a bank right now. Nobody's stopping you.
Right.
You can go do it yourself.
Right.
Basically, what I'm saying is
but if God knew that I was going to do that, why wouldn't he stop me from doing that?
Because life is a test. He doesn't control anything. Like he doesn't. He knows what's going to happen, but he's not. He doesn't control you. Because then.
So if he already knows what's going to happen, then what's the sense of me having a life?
Because then
he already knew what my outcome was going to be.
No, because then it wouldn't be a test. Like then it wouldn't be a test for you to see whatever can happen.
But you just said he knew everything that was going to happen.
I know. That's what I mean. It gets super complicated in depth, and I can't fully explain it to you because it will sound so like stupid and contradictory and stuff.
Okay, these are the things that just make me. But
hopefully one day we can go through, but it goes extremely in depth and it can explain everything. But the best way I learned it is like, life is a test. You're the students, God is the teacher. God can't force me to study for the test. I can do whatever I want in this life. And either I pass the test because I studied, or I failed the test because I didn't care, I didn't pay attention, I just coasted, I just did whatever I wanted with my life. So it depends how you want to live your life.
Yeah. What if you have ADHD?
Yeah, well, life is a test. You know what I mean? So God takes this into account. This person has depression. This person has ADHD. Mm-hmm. God knows everything that happened to you throughout your life. So if you're struggling, like he sees that. Like if you tried your best, like he sees that. In Islam, if you have even the intention of doing good, you get rewarded for it as like a good deed. Like when you get judged one day, or like when judgment day comes, even if you had the intention of giving like that homeless man money, it still counts as a good deed. And if you had the intention of doing something bad and you didn't do it, that counts as a good deed as well.
You mean a bad deed?
No, a good deed.
If you do something bad and you didn't do it?
Yes, and if you had the intention of doing and you didn't do it,
right.
That's because God's like, you didn't do it. Like you stopped yourself. That's a good deed. But that's basically what it is. Anyways, let's finish this up.
No sense at the time.
Hold on.
The prophet also told many prophecies that made no sense at the time and have only recently materialized. Listen to this. He said that the poor Arabs of the deserts would compete in building tall buildings.
So how would he know this 1400 years ago? If God screws up, if the revelation that came to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, if it was wrong in any ways, it essentially proves all of Islam false in any sense. If one thing is wrong in this whole religion, Islam, everything else is false. So we'd have to reject it completely. But how would he know 1400 years ago that the poor Arab Bedouins would create and compete in the tallest towers? Like logically, how does that make any sense? Because in my opinion, in the middle of nowhere. I wouldn't expect anything to come from it, to be honest with you, especially 1400 years ago.
But I bet, again, I don't know any of the religion things, but I bet any money that any religion's going to be able to look at their scriptures and tell you that their prophets also made the same type of predictions that also came true.
When did Jesus? No, but first off, there can't be one wrong at all. But when did Jesus make?
Well, look at the story of Fatima in Portugal, right? In
I
the
don't know anything about
1930s.
it.
In the 1930s, Fatima was the three children of Fatima. You don't know anything about that? Okay, so we're not even going to discuss it.
No, go on.
No, because
It's a long story.
yeah.
Okay.
You need to know what it's about, okay? But
Okay.
this was in the 1930s. This just happened.
Okay.
Like, not even 100 years ago.
Okay.
Like, it's just coming up to 100 years. And in fact, Fatima, the one girl, passed away maybe 15 years ago, 20 years, not even, right?
Okay.
Anyway, so there's no sense in me bringing up that story.
But it was a prophecy. Like, what was a prophecy?
These were three children that claimed that they had saw the mother of Jesus,
Mary,
right? Mother
Right.
Mary,
Okay.
in a field in Portugal.
Okay.
And that's where Fatima is now, in Portugal, that big religious space that they have in Portugal. They claim that these three children saw a Mother Mary, and that she had told the children things that were specifically going to happen. And they all came true. All of them.
Okay, but how many did she tell them?
Oh, a half a dozen? There's a whole movie about it. You can watch a movie on it.
For
Anyway.
sure. Anyways.
And they all came true. And this is real. And in fact, they got video of stuff.
But what was it? Like, what did they
Wars
say?
that were going to happen. The world wars that were going to happen. Things that were going to happen with Russia.
But what specifically?
I can't. Like, you got to watch
To be
it
fair,
again,
when was this? 1930s?
in the 30s.
But Dad, this was 1400 years ago. They were saying these predictions. Like, how would somebody know that? Though?
It
That's
doesn't
what I'm
matter.
saying.
Listen, when you're making a prediction, it could be tomorrow. If you know, if today was, well, anyway, whatever. I was just gonna say something that had happened, right?
Right.
And I said, you know what? Tomorrow, in Thailand, there's gonna be a tsunami that's gonna kill 250,000 people.
Right.
And I said that, and it actually happened. People would listen, and they'd start to wonder. Now, if I continue to say things that continue to go true to a point where there was everybody watching me, and everything I said continued to go true, like you were saying, people would pay attention, right?
Right.
That happened with Fatima in the 30s. So it's anyway, I guess you got to get into that. You should watch that later.
Right. Okay, I'll check it out later. Yeah, but I just want to say, like, this is 1400 years ago, right? This isn't like 100 years ago, so you can see how society is evolving. Like, this is a while back. Anyways, my point is too. It's like, would you expect for there to be greenery in the desert? Like, is there greenery in the desert?
Well, it's possible. I mean, you cannot. You're getting into a whole bunch of other stuff.
I am getting into other stuff.
Yeah, because like this global warming bullshit. I personally don't believe in or whatever.
Right.
I have my reasons to believe it. The ice age happened, right? Like, what created that? There were no humans on Earth to make that happen 1,000,000 years ago, or whatever the hell it was.
No, but my point is it logically fair to say that the desert is green? Like, the desert is full of, like, thriving trees and everything like that? Like, a lot of greenery, like, it's all green.
I don't know anything about that. I can't say. I don't know anything about that.
That's
stuff.
fair. But in your opinion, off what you know, off your logic.
Well, a
you
desert's
see
a
a
desert.
desert,
A
would you assume
desert's a
it's green?
desert. No, you'd assume that it's a desert, right?
Right.
I think you're getting into things here that you can find in any. I think you can find in any religion.
Yeah, but if I say the desert, this dry land will turn into all greenery one day, it'll be full of, like, forests and everything. Would you believe that?
It's possible. I mean, do you ever see what happened if man ceased to exist to the cities of the world?
Cease to exist.
Yeah, in other words, if we all died as human beings, what's going to happen with these big cities that we're looking at?
Oh, of course, yeah, like greenery will come.
Right. They're within a few million years, they're all going to crumble to nothing.
But I mean, in terms of the desert where there's just sand, not really cities, like just
Things
sand.
change. I don't know. I can't talk about
Was
that.
there ever greenery in the desert?
I don't know. I have
But
no
what do you
idea.
think? Yes, no.
Well, I mean, if there was an ice age that took the world all ice, then there was probably no desert at that time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Well,
don't know. I like those are things I can't answer.
Anyways, like through science, we found out that desert was initially really lush and really green, like tons of forest and stuff. Then it went to desert, and the prophet says, like in the future, that when the time of the world comes to end, it will become all green again. Like green will come back, and it's kind of slowly starting to happen.
Well,
But
they also said that the North and the South poles are going to swap.
They say they don't say they'll swap. They say that the sun will rise from the west. And through science, what we know is we know that the Earth revolves around the sun, right? So science confirmed one day the Earth is going to fly off its axis and we're going to be out of orbit and the sun will actually rise from the west eventually. That's what established science does. But
See, who knows? I don't know any of this stuff.
He said that interest will spread such that no one can escape the dust of it. He said that power and authority will be given to the wrong people. He said that sexual promiscuity would become rampant and that parents would give birth to their masters. These are only just a few examples from a plethora of authentically graded prophecies. Amazingly, his greatness is globally recognized even by non-Muslims. For example, Michael Hart, who wrote the famous book of the top 100 most influential people in history, and he places the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as number one in his list. Other examples include Dr. Keith Moore, George Bernard Shaw, Gandhi, Thomas Carlyle, Lamartine, and the list goes on and on. Can't we logically and rationally say that he was telling the truth? See, the message of Islam is very simple. It is to direct all inward and outward acts of worship to Allah and Allah alone. Worship isn't just to pray. Worship is to obey and to love and to rely upon Allah more than anything or anyone else. It means to break free from society's expectations of you and to fully submit to the expectations of the Creator. In other words, you don't act a certain way or dress a certain way to please certain people. Everything you do is for the sake of Allah. This is true liberation if you ask me. There is no leap of faith in Islam. Allah has given us an intellect, countless signs, and a lifetime to search for Him. If after this video you now believe that there is only one God and that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was his final prophet, you have found the truth, and I would like to personally invite you to Islam.
yeah, that's it. So what do you think? I mean, we talked a lot
honestly,
through the
honestly,
video, so-
again, like I said from the beginning, I'm in a place right now that I don't have any religion in my life, because I don't understand a lot of these things, and I can't state that I would know any of these things,
Okay.
and I can't argue anything. I'm only talking from, looking outside of the box. I didn't hear anything different that I wouldn't have heard from Christianity. The evidence and the proof was nothing that seemed to be wow. There was, as far as I was concerned, everything he said, there was no evidence, there was no proof. He didn't say anything to me that made me think, oh my God, look at that, that's correct. Which is no different, by the way, than Christianity, right? Like I said, it's basically like a photocopy. So it really hasn't changed my position on anything as far as the way I see things today. And you know what? And I'll admit freely that right now I'm a lost soul. I don't know what to believe, because I think that really there really should be. I believe there's a God, but I believe there should be no religion. I mean, I don't know how to say that. it's like there probably should be worship. There probably should be a lot of the things that the religions try to do, but there shouldn't be anything where we're arguing with from one to another about specific facts that really don't matter in the end. Who gives a crap? It's being the best person you could be so that when you leave this earth, you know you did the best you could. I don't know how else to explain it.
No, that's fair. That's completely fair. I just think so yeah, I'm just curious. So what would make you like what sign would you have to see? Like God to come down himself and be like, I'm God, man. You know what I mean? Like what would you have to see?
Let's sit and have a coffee.
No, but in my like I'm just curious because you're like I don't believe any of this stuff, whatever. So what would you have to see even in real life to be like, oh wow, like oh, this makes sense in any aspect, in any religion, just like
I think
God in general.
I think if there was truth behind Christianity, or the Muslim faith, or the Jewish faith, or any of these faiths, where there's a God and our main crux is being the best humans we could be towards each other, because in the end, that's really what it is, right?
Right.
I think that if there was I don't think there is an answer. If as long as we have all these religions, you know, and there's a million more. You got the Sikhs, you got the Jehovah's Witnesses, you got the
Mormons.
There's millions
Yeah,
of
yeah.
There's we can go on forever here,
Of course,
right?
of course.
So like I don't believe, and even as a kid when I would go to church every week with my parents, I still couldn't grasp why God would give me the truth at that time being Christianity, and everybody else has no idea what they're talking about or who they are or what they are or what it is. And it's the same thing I could say for the Muslim faith. Why would the Muslims have the actual truth and everybody else is lost and out to left field in every other religion or every other aspect? Or the Jews or any of the religions? Why? Why are they the selected people just because of where they were born? Because that's mostly where they're going to be. Most people, their religion is going to be where they were born. Very few will convert to another religion. Some do, like you are, but very few will convert. They will live their lives with the beliefs they had growing up till the day they die. It's really you become how you were raised and where you went from there. And then, of course, the choices you make in life and where you go from that point. Right. I think the one thing that we all will agree on from most religions, because some of them obviously not, but for most religions, is that the whole idea is to be the best people we can be to each other, morally and within each other and for each other. Right? That's and unfortunately there's no answer. There is no answer to any of this stuff, I don't think. So if God himself came down, I honestly don't think he's going to say, no, the Christians were right. You guys are all wrong. You Christians are right. Or, oh no, the Muslims are right. You guys are all wrong. The Muslims are right. It ain't going to happen. In my opinion.
That's fair. We know he won't come down.
Right?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
No, if it happens. If there was a judgment day where that happened, I don't think that
there will be a judgment.
Where that happened. Where I'm saying where if there was a judgment day where we find the truth, I guess when we die, right?
Well,
we may or may not know, right? Who knows? When you die, it might be an eternal sleep where we literally cease to exist. Our energy turns into something else, but we don't know what that is. It could be a tree. I don't know. Like I don't know. So
yeah, that's fair.
So I do believe that we're an energy, and I do believe that all energy transforms into some sort of other energy. What is it? I don't know. Is it reincarnation? I doubt it, but I don't know. I don't know. I doubt it. How smart am I?
Right.
I'm not
We're limited
intelligent,
beings.
right, enough to know any of this stuff.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. But but I think like Islam itself goes really deep into a lot of these topics. Like off the top of my head, like when we die, or right now, like this is in our religion, when you die now, you're just like in purgatory basically. I don't know the actual name for it in Arabic and like the complete definition, but you're in purgatory until the day of judgment. And the day of judgment, after it's complete, then you either go to heaven or hell. So
Right.
nobody's in heaven and hell right now who's
Right.
dead from what we believe.
Right.
But now they're kind of in like limbo, purgatory kind of. I don't know what they're doing. Like it gets really in depth, and I don't really look into it yet.
Right.
But I know that that's the level they're in now. And then once Judgment Day comes, God will all lead us to one place, and He will judge us all accordingly. And it gets super specific, like what will happen.
Okay, like I know as a kid growing up, and like my mother is like the most religious person in the world when it comes to the Christian religion. She prays every 5 minutes.
True.
That's all she does is pray. Anyway, so you could. She could argue with you. She can argue with anybody because she's learned this stuff inside out in her own belief. Is she right? I doubt it in many cases, right? And I know in many cases she's not. But they actually believe, for instance, that she's going to see my father, right? As an example. My father already passed away. Well, for sure, I would love to be able to see my father again and to talk to my dad again. But, trying to think critically, is that really what's going to happen? I really doubt it. Because
God tells us that.
if that was going to happen, and that one day I die, and then one day you die, and then me and you and my dad are going to all have a beer together in heaven, I doubt that very much is going to happen, right? Because with that, what do you do with the people you didn't like when you were on Earth, or didn't get along with, that were a part of your circle, where you liked them, I didn't,
Yeah, no, that's fair.
right?
But-
What do you do with them now?
I could get into it, but it gets extremely specific, and that's like a whole different category and ball game. But like, like from our religion, and it's funny. I said this. I actually made a video about this, a short, and I released it earlier today. I was like, it's funny when I reverted, and I told a bunch of Muslim people this too. I was like, like the more I learn, the more I'm less afraid of death. I'm more afraid of leaving everybody behind, making sure they're okay. But death itself, I've come to the realization that like everything happens, but I'm not necessarily afraid for what's gonna happen. It's just afraid of like leaving people behind, making sure they're okay. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of heaven and hell, holy, like it gets really specific, really detailed.
I have a hard time believing there's a heaven and hell.
That's fine, but it gets
Because I can't see humans with all the struggles we have in the world, because we all go through struggles.
Everybody does, and life is a test.
And with everything that happens and all this stuff, that you die, and let's assume that you were one of the selected people that wind up in heaven, that you're going to be in heaven, and now everything's hunky-dory and wonderful, and just wings and floating clouds.
Yeah.
I just can't see that being a thing. I just don't see that being a thing.
Well, it's your reward for
I
doing
think-
good in your actual life.
I think our afterlife, and I hate to say it because it's kind of doomed, but I think our afterlife is really just an internal sleep. It's basically you sleep and never wake up.
So where does your energy go?
Don't know.
That's the thing. So it has to go somewhere. It's your
I agree with
consciousness,
you,
know?
but it doesn't mean it's your consciousness,
But consciousness is energy,
right?
right? I guess it depends to a certain extent, but there's
Yeah.
clearly energy in us somehow, and I don't know how it works. I don't know how consciousness works. I don't know any of that stuff, but there's clearly energy in people itself, and it has to go somewhere. Like it has to go somewhere. I don't know.
So we got to remember that energy is in
Can't be created or destroyed.
everything that's alive.
True.
So when I, like I said earlier, kill an ant or a spider, I'm
Taking away energy.
taking away
You're not
their
killing
energy.
anybody. You're just taking away
I'm just
energy.
turning it into something
Yeah.
else. So there
That's
are
probably a psychopath.
there are some faiths that
Yeah.
believe that if you're not a great human being,
You'll become like a pig or something.
right?
Yeah.
Next
I've heard
life,
about that.
or
I've
let's
heard
say a
about
spider, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I'm doing somebody a favor if I kill a spider. They'll
Yeah,
come back
as
as
a
a human being
Yeah.
that's living a wonderful life. So
Yeah.
people say that that's what it is. You come back,
Reincarnation.
your reincarnation. You come back to the world, and you live an abundance, wonderful life if you had a great life before. And then it depends how you decide to live that abundance, wonderful life that will determine where your next life will go.
Right.
Who knows? We don't have the brain power to understand it or to ever know it. And unfortunately, I don't think we ever will.
But do you not think? Oh, but
Consciously,
Mike,
ever will.
that's fair. But do you not think God would be? What's the word I'm looking for? Do you think God is not smart enough to send you like a sign or a book to be like, hey, these are the rules?
Don't say smart enough. You can't say it like that.
No, but do you not think God doesn't think it like God knows we're limited. God knows we're like compared to him we're dumb. Like we're nothing kind of. So he knows us better than we know ourselves.
Do you
so
think
his
that,
capability to make it easier for us to understand certain things.
Do you think that that God gave dolphins a book and a church and a religion?
Well, dolphins are not as high on the consciousness level as we are. Sure,
They're
they're smart
very
animals.
intelligent animals. Very intelligent animals.
They're smart.
What about octopus? Some people argue that octopus are more intelligent than people. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that argument before, right? So what about an octopus? Do they have religion?
Do they have moral and reason, or do they survive off instincts? They don't. We're the only animal that has moral and reason and doesn't like necessarily.
Well, you don't know
survive off
that.
instincts.
I would think that.
From what we know,
I would think that dolphins have their own. I mean, we see videos all the time of
of
things
them
that
doing
happen.
stuff, sure,
Right,
but
that
that's
would
not
show that
moral and reason.
Well, it would show that there is consciousness.
Oh, they do
right?
have consciousness.
That-
Every animal has consciousness.
That shows morale, like some sort of reason.
Right,
I don't
right,
know. I
right.
don't want to say moral, but some sort of reason.
Where
right?
they can reason, basically.
Right.
Right,
Like
right.
they're just a different type of being, is what they are. Right?
They're an animal, yes.
So they're an animal. So what are they experiencing in their worlds? Do they have a god or a religion? Because they're on Earth as well, and they're an energy as well.
So we believe, yeah, I can actually answer that. So we believe that all animals basically bow to God. Like all living things essentially bow to God, like follow God.
So they have, in their own way, which could be true, by the way, because I don't think we could ever know that. In their own way, they have their own
Religion.
I don't know if you want to call it a religion, but
No.
their own way of believing in a super. Again, I don't want to use superpower,
super
but
being,
a god,
ultimate
a god,
being, yeah.
an ultimate, a god, a creator.
Yeah, creator, right. Well, like I said, I just know from that because I remember searching that up that we believe essentially that everything is through God's power. Like the way these birds fly, like so on and so forth, is all through God's will, all through God's power, and yeah, and it's true too based off the consciousness. Because we have cats named Latte and Chino, but they have different personalities. They're not the same. You know what I mean?
Cappuccino and latte.
Yeah, Chino. Yeah.
Cappuccino and latte.
But they have different like personalities, you know,
Yeah,
like just
well,
like
that's-
all animals, like
of course, yeah. But
So-
again, my point being, they're living creatures.
yeah.
They also have the energy that we spoke about. And when they die, I'm sure that they have some energy that
Energy.
transforms into something
I
else
agree.
as well.
I agree.
So you know, are their lives, you know, or when they're alive in their own minds of are they beings? Would they be considered beings?
Well, they're conscious animals, whatever.
Animals,
just like
right?
living things.
Yes, as
Yeah.
animals, do they have any sort of belief in a god per se?
I don't know. I just know that they bow towards God. That's it. Like they follow him, worship him, so to say. You know what I mean? Like everything kind of. They're like created in that way. The
Well,
same
listen,
way
if
we
you're
are.
gonna, but it's always comes
tough
down-
to get
If
into.
there's for the God, there's also for the devil, right? Because we also do have evil. We have evil on earth. We're gonna have evil everywhere, right? So,
I don't know about for animals because I think animals just survive sheerly off of instinct. Like sheerly, in my opinion, anyways.
see,
Like
these are all things that we could never know.
no, but
We don't
based
have
off
the
what we
brain.
know.
We don't have the brain power to know, and I don't think we will ever find out. I don't think even when we die that we're going to be going up to a heaven where they're going to say, "Here's all the truths, and everything you ever wondered. Here's the truth of it."
Oh,
Because
no, well,
that would be very painful too, wouldn't it? And
Well-
how could that be a heaven? Because now you find out that your life on earth and everything you loved, the people you loved and everything, you find out everything about them, which you don't want to know everything about everybody you've loved. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own lives. Everybody's
Demons,
got their own demons and their own secrets and their own skeletons in their closets. You don't want to know this stuff. So the last thing that would make you happy is dying and knowing everything about everything.
Well, we do know on Judgment Day, God's going to judge us and kind of tell us kind of in front of the world about this person or so on and so forth. So we'll kind of be to everybody. But we know in heaven that it's pure bliss, essentially. It gets really descriptive, like unbelievably descriptive. And we know, for example, there will be no pain in heaven. There will be no envy. There will be no sleep. You don't ever sleep. You kind of wish for things on demand. They happen. You will have your partner in there. If you have a partner, you will have your partner there. You also get a custom angel for you, as crazy as this sounds.
You mentioned something just now, and I actually, funny enough, I watched it a couple of weeks ago. You ever heard of the Twilight Zone?
Yeah, the show. Yeah,
the Twilight Zone. Okay, some people may or may not know it that are watching you, but there's this show called the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
And I watched this episode the other day. I wish I remember the name of it, but I don't. Anyway, to make a long story short, there's this criminal who is killing. Or who's a gambler, a womanizer, like all the evil stuff, right? And he winds up dying. So after he dies, his angel comes to him and he gets everything he wants. So now he says, you can have whatever you want. He has the nicest condo, he has the best cars, all the girls around, whatever he wishes for he gets. He goes gambling, he throws the dice and it always comes up with the right number. He plays poker, he never loses. Everything he says is perfect, and he gets tired of it. And he gets to a point where it's driving him crazy. He's literally going crazy. And he says to this angel, he says, you know what? I can't deal with heaven anymore. I can't deal with heaven anymore. Please send me to hell. This is too much. He goes, what made you think you were in heaven?
That's actually a good one. Damn, I want to know the name of that one now.
I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah,
because I actually watched it like 3 weeks ago.
That's really funny.
So the point being is, if heaven is you get everything you want, whatever you want, you do whatever you want, that's actually a bad thing.
But the thing is, you're not confined to the laws of humans, like of what we live now. Like it'll be completely different. And like from what we know from our religion, there's 7 levels of heaven, and there's also levels of hell depending on how you were as a person. And there's different beliefs and stuff too, right? Like for example, like as a Muslim, if you die a Muslim and you go to hell, eventually, whether it be 5 years, 50,000 years, 5 million years, you will go to heaven eventually, because you only believed in one God. That's like the whole premise of it. You only believe in one God, eventually you'll go to heaven. But doesn't mean that you won't go to hell.
But Christians believe in one God too.
Yeah, they associate partners with God, which is a sin. You cannot, that's literally the first rule of the 10 Commandments. You should have no other gods before me, and you can't associate anything with them. That's why when you see people be like, "Oh, pray to Saint Paul."
Yeah,
Saint
again,
this,
I
Saint that,
I can't speak because I don't understand it well enough to speak. But I've never been raised to think that Jesus was God.
But
Jesus
Christians
was
believe
the
that.
Son of God.
But Christians
That's what
believe.
we always believed, was that Jesus was the Son of God, which makes 2 different beings. And Jesus struggled to be a perfect human being, which is the reason why he went out to the desert for 40 days and 40 nights to repent.
And Satan tried to tempt him.
Right. And Satan tried to
tempt him.
So
Right.
he was. I've always believed from the teachings that I had that he was the Son of God, not God. I don't know where that's coming from.
I'm just saying Christians believe he's the Son of God. Like Christians themselves believe he's God. Sorry. They believe he's God. However, Catholics, Roman Catholics, all these other ones, they believe he's the Son of God.
Okay, I can't talk about that because I don't know. So.
Well, yeah, I looked into it anyways.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of looking up, but anyways, my point is everybody kind of believes what they believe, but we believe that God can't have a son, because by definition, if God has a son, that person is God too. That's 2 gods. It can only be one all-powerful creator. So that's kind of why we just believe he's a prophet.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of things that are similar. Don't get me wrong, like the second coming of Christ to kill the Antichrist and like stuff like that. But there's also a lot of things that are slightly different in different ways. Like for example, Jesus prayed like Muslims pray. Jesus never ate pork, but yet Jesus never drank. Like, there's a lot of things that Jesus did, but they don't follow. And it even says that too in like the Bible.
That who doesn't follow?
Christians.
Well, neither do Muslims, though.
Hold on.
In any religion, and this is, I know this, I see it all the time, right? Like, people that I know that are Muslims, I've seen drink.
Of course,
right?
of course.
And so,
hold on.
So that goes both ways.
I should get this clear. I should make this clear. Islam, the religion, is perfect. Muslims are humans. They're unperfect. Like, we can do anything to kill people, whatever.
Yes. Well,
so you can't compare the religion to the person.
Right.
Same with Christianity and what they believe in.
Right.
Christians, you can't compare to like Christians themselves. Christianity, you have to like separate the two, right?
Right.
But it's a common misconception where people will be like, oh, because you're Muslim, oh, you're a terrorist, you're this, you're that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
that's ridiculous. It's stupid.
Yeah, but people don't decipher, essentially, is what I'm saying. So, of course, yeah, a lot of Muslims drink. Like, a lot of Muslims smoke, do drugs, gamble, whatever, this, that. But there's rules that were set up for us not to do it. Like for example, like, we know Jesus prayed like Muslims prayed with his head on the ground right before Judas essentially sold him off to the Romans to kill him. He was praying in the garden with his head on the ground. Like, it says it in the Bible and stuff. But then people come along the way and like corrupt it. So like, there's things like we don't really know about, right? Which makes it tough to believe in. But I don't want to get into Christianity because that's all like other stuff. But based off stuff I've learned, I know, like, so on and so forth, it's hard for me to rationalize like the concept of the Trinity, like a 3-in-1 like entity and being, and I've always struggled with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, people believe
well,
in what
sorry,
they
I can't tell you what the truth is because I wouldn't know and I don't know. So,
but I know the truth, so it's okay.
You know,
and in terms of this, I fully believe it.
That's a huge reason why I've never tried to sway you in any way when it comes to these beliefs.
Oh no, of course.
You got to find them for
and
yourself.
And I respect that.
I don't know how to find them. And if I don't know how to find them, I sure as hell not going to tell you how to try and find them.
No, of course.
So,
and I respect that and stuff too. But the same way, like, just because I'm Muslim doesn't mean I like don't respect you or anybody else. So like any religion, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that's like a common like
you look
thing
at
in
your
misconception.
you look at your grandmother. You're my mother.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, you won't remember because unfortunately we weren't going there too much, but. Up until a few years ago, her best friend, a woman that came to her house every single day, and they would talk religion, and both of them were praying every single day for hours, and they were best friends.
Yeah, of two different religions.
Right.
Yeah.
My mother's 90 years old, and this woman already passed away. She was of that age as well.
Passed.
Yeah, she passed away about 3 or 4 years ago. And her daughter, funny enough, committed suicide. That's a sad story. But anyway, so point being is that you can have these different thoughts, different beliefs, different things, but still get along and still understand that we're human beings and good people.
Of course.
That's what counts. To me, that's what makes it important. That's what determines what kind of person you were when you leave this earth.
Of course. But yeah, that's the thing too, like, right? Like, the whole premise of the Quran, besides worshiping one God, is to do good. Like, do good to people, do good in your life. And that's why I said before, that's why you get good deeds. If you stay away from bad stuff you wanted to do, or if you had the intention of doing good, it still counts as like a good deed for yourself. But yeah, that's basically it. This is probably one of my longest videos ever. Jesus Christ.
One thing for sure I know 100% is the day I die, I hope that you guys don't come and I find out that one of you didn't make it to heaven. It's like, hey, where's Tristan? Tristan's somewhere else, man. Yeah, I don't want that. I don't want that.
Yeah, but I guess we find out. But yeah, again, I guess the final thing is God kind of God judges everybody differently. That's really what it is, right?
Yeah.
But anyways,
the final thing is I love you, man.
I love you too. All right.
Good luck, buddy.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. This is gonna be my longest video. I hope we're at 2 hours. I hope this isn't that long in terms of editing. Jeez, because I don't think people are gonna watch for 2 hours, but who knows? Hopefully. Anyways, guys, thank you and have a great